Finally doing this.
We're doing it.
Finally doing it. It took a while to get here because
We made it.
Sabrina, I guess we're going to start right off. We're just in the UK.
It
And
was.
it seems it was even more surprising for you than it was for me because I remember Jeannie telling me, yeah, Jessica just texted Sabrina. I was like, hey, come to the UK. I was like, whoa. And I forgot that you were like gone the weekend before.
Yeah, so it was definitely a little bit because I was gone for my brother's birthday and his bride-to-be's wedding shower. So that was like a full weekend. And then I was on my way home and I got that text message and I'm like, Jessica, what are you doing? Until I kind of like almost ignored it a little bit until it kept going on. I'm like, oh, I think this is like a serious request.
This isn't just a wouldn't this be nice? This is like no, seriously.
You should come. Yeah.
Yeah. So then that happened.
Yeah, and this was a scouting trip.
It was,
right?
yes.
Like you went to go look at. Now, did you look at the place that we are going in the UK in September, or was it also potential places?
Yeah, so right now Jessica is still there. She's driving through Ireland to scout there. This was and we don't typically do this, but this was the UK was a trip that we booked sight unseen.
Yeah.
So we're like, that is what I saw. So like there's that awareness of when we go in September of like, what does this look like? What's the layout? What's the vibe? So I was really fortunate to be able to experience that and have some inspiration come through. And I bought myself like a little Avebury book that has like history about Avebury because once I visited there, which that spot particularly has its own stones, I'm like, I need to learn more about this. Like I wanted to learn more. So that's going to be like between now and September, like learning some, and Avebury is where we're staying for the retreat itself.
Nice.
It's awesome.
Isn't that, that happens to me often whenever I go to a new place. I'm like, I don't realize how little I know about it. And then it's like, oh, I need to read more about this place. And it's like, that's the benefit of travel. Like it just inspires you to like learn more about, because how many times do we see something about like, the UK or even any place in the US, like if you go to New York or Boston or something like that, and you're like, yeah, I know this place exists. That's great. But then you actually go there and you're just like, wow, there's so much here that I don't know that it's like to learn. That's like, I thought when we went to Ireland a few years ago, we went to Waterford and did a tour. There was like a medieval Waterford history museum, and like the stuff that they were talking about and was there, like I'd never heard any of it. Right. And it's like I heard like a handful of like people, like some of the kings of England or something like that. But I'm like, I had no idea like what the rich history of that like small area, not like the overall Irish history. I'm like, I never would have thought about it or learned about it if I wasn't there.
Yeah.
Right? So just an extra level of cool.
Yeah, so it was super inspiring. And so, yesterday morning, I'm like, what's going to be like my background, music or this or that? Sometimes it's nothing. But I found myself YouTubing and I listened to historical information about the baths, Roman baths.
Cool.
That was really a cool site that we saw. So yeah, diving into a little bit more of that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's sweet.
That's a nice little random freaking. It's not like, hey, let's go to New York City for the weekend. It's like, hey, can you make it to the UK?
Across the ocean.
Well, to functionally be working as well is pretty awesome. It's a pretty rare thing. I think most people don't have that as part of their job, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So super fortunate for that.
That's awesome.
You guys didn't miss anything, don't worry.
No. It probably stunk.
Oh no. Yeah. I saw videos and pictures. It looks like the coziest. It looks like, you ever see that movie Hot Fuzz?
Yes.
Yeah, it's like a comedy.
And it's so funny.
It's a hilarious movie.
Unbelievably funny. Yeah.
In a small like British village, and it looked like just like it. Or like something out of The Holiday,
Jessica sent me a picture of two guys having a beer in the pub with their dogs.
Yes.
Huge dogs. And I was like, this is the most British picture that has ever been taken like in history. Like I was like, this looks like out of a storybook about British people.
They are so considerate. Like dogs are just like people there.
That's so cool.
I swear to it. Like everywhere there's just like dog drinking bowls. signs that say dogs welcome, places where around here, you wouldn't think to bring your dog. It's just like a normal thing.
Yeah.
So it definitely has me out going for walks the last couple of days because I'm like, my dogs need a little bit more training. I was like, I'm going to bring them amongst people more.
I know. If you've been to in Lansing, there's a pizza place called Salt Point.
Okay.
And it's great in the summertime because it has like lots of outdoor space. And very often there are dogs. People bring their dogs. And I'm like, I'd love to bring my dogs here. But Ruthie would just be crazy and Henry might just be scared. You know what I mean? Like we don't have that culture where like, let's bring our dog to the pub. It's not as common here, but it's so charming and cool when we see it overseas.
Real quick, that night that we walked to the local pub, right? I'm like, because we're here, it's like, let's go experience, right?
Yeah.
So I also had my first Guinness in my whole entire life.
What'd you think?
Well, I don't know. I think
it's an acquired taste.
No, I love it. I'm like, this
really? Okay, I do too. Oh my God. You're talking to two Guinness fans over here.
Yeah, so. I mean, I was like, this is great. This is amazing.
Amazing.
I didn't think I would, but it was great. Went to the local pub and like we hear this rumbling and I'm like, what is going on? I was like, what? I was like, hey, what's going on upstairs? It sounded like bowling. And they're like, oh, they're playing Skittles. And I were like, what is? They're like, go up and check it out. So literally it was like 9 pins that were wooden. And, they roll this wooden ball and it's kind of like bowling, but it's called Skittles.
Yeah.
Skittles.
I mean, I don't know if it's the same thing, but I know I've seen it. Like there's duck pin bowling. I think it's called here, where seems very similar. The pins are smaller and the ball is smaller.
Yeah. So that was an experience. So like we get up there and they have a Skittle league going on. In this realm, it was like men against women kind of league. And we walk in, we're like, they're all like, who are you? We ended up, they were so lovely and invited us in to watch. So we had a great time watching that too. Awesome. So it's like those little micro experiences within all the other things as well. It's like, am I really here in space and time?
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny how like different, if you're in like Europe, stuff like that is seen as charming. Where like if we were at a bar here, we're like, what's that noise? I'm like, there's a bowling alley upstairs. We'd be like, what?
It's like a makeshift, like, it's like, sort of sounds like bocce ball though.
Yeah.
Like, it's like kind of a little bit less of a involved setup, but it works out. I mean, that sounds so fun. I bet they're gambling on it.
Well, they had a 12-year-old, it looked about 12-year-old boy.
Okay. You never know.
Hitting the pins.
Okay, nice.
It was either Coca-Cola or Guinness that he was drinking. I'm not.
Okay. All right.
That could go either way. Really don't know.
That's right. In Europe, you never know.
I was like, okay.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It was a great experience.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it sounds like this trip was awesome, and it's a nice little preview of our trip coming up in September.
It'll be here before we know it.
4 months away. It's only 4 months away.
It's only 4 months away.
If you think of 4 months ago was January. That went by really fast.
Right. I mean, between all of that, we have Berkshire's coming up. I mean, these quick shout outs. We have Reggae Fest. We have Berkshire Yoga Festival. We have Om Festival. The Ithaca Festival. That's coming up the end of this month, I think. So,
well, like, what are they? I'm trying to think. What are they in order? Ithaca Festival, I think, is first.
Correct.
Because that's not this upcoming weekend, the weekend after.
Correct.
Yep.
Then Berkshire. That's like Father's Day weekend in June.
Yes.
Yes.
And then Reggae Fest.
And
then the Om Festival.
Yep. Om Festival is 23rd to 26th of July. Man, look at us.
Right.
Busy bees. Yep.
It's great. Cool.
We'll be there. Catch us
there. Today is another kind of music conversation, which
I love it.
Which I love. And it's like the music that is spiritual to you, or like, what is your spiritual music? Now, as someone who is a nerd and an academic, I'm like, how could we define spirituality? So we all know we're talking about the same thing.
Yeah.
There you go.
So like, and it actually, when I had that thought, I was like, okay, I wonder how I think about it. And then I got curious about you guys. So like, if I was to say to you, define like what makes something spiritual, or what does spiritual mean to you, or how would you define it? Sabrina, what would you say?
I would say that it's spiritual is something that connects me to the greater cosmos. You know, anything that brings me into that awareness of that it's not just me in this physical body on this physical plane that helps me to feel interconnected. So that could be many different things. Yeah.
That's a great
That's
answer.
pretty good. That's pretty good. Yeah, that's a good definition.
And as I look up, I look at the trees that are, you know, I'm at the studio, obviously. And I'm just like, yeah, I like those trees like swaying in the wind, you know, moments like that. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Josh, what about
you? What about you, Josh?
Well, spiritual music started for me probably as like, I don't know if you grew up in the Catholic Church at all, there's like there's TikToks and Instagrams that are like, does anyone remember this church banger? And it's like On Eagle's Wings. Like there's like these specific songs from church that were like every time they came on, like everyone would sing along. So definitely that was where it started for me. But then my dad was a big gospel listener. So definitely like worship music in that regard, like was spiritual music to me. And it's changed to be more of like what Sabrina described, is like anything musically that can connect me closer to the divine and have an experience of that. And I mean, it varies from, you know, amazing guitar solos to, you know, like lots of different stuff that, you know, gives you the chills or makes you like laugh, like just because it's so incredible performance wise. And as a musician, sometimes you hear things that you're like, oh my gosh, this person is connected to God right now. You know, like to me, like that is definitely for me, maybe a different thing that maybe other people might feel. But for me, that's kind of the vague, you know, kind of general answer.
Yeah, that's great. Matt? I mean, both of you, I agree with both of you, because it's like, what is it about any piece of music that's going to forget about my self in this body? And like you said, Josh, it's like the chills that you get when you hear something that's like, that brings you out of wherever you are, the physical space and your physical being, and just like being in that moment. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Yeah. The chills part is like, because there are things I listen to, I'm like, I want the chills right now. I'm going to listen to this so I can like cue it up, right? And, but it's also fun when you like discover that, and it's like, oh, this isn't just music now. This is like something else, right?
Yeah. And I mean, that person is having an embodied experience as a musician. And to me, I admire musicians so much, because it's like they're dropping into that flow state. And it's like that music is moving through them. And it's like almost like they're channeling that music. And, you know, sometimes like I don't necessarily vibe with the music, right, itself, but I could appreciate what's happening with all of that, right?
Yeah, definitely. I used to tell my voice students, who were like usually they were from 5 years old to high schoolers, is like, because voice is an interesting thing to teach, because it's like stylistic yelling, you know, like at its core. And it's like, and to do that, you actually have to dive in. You can't like half do it. You have to like actually let it rock. So I used to say something to my students that tried to make it a little bit like more, it's just the truth of how I see it, is just that like music is magic, like in its own way, you know, like it's like a non-tangible, non-feelable thing that has such a profound and immediate impact on the listener that it's like, it is like a spell in a certain way. And like to be able to create music with your body, like in singing and especially if you're like writing music, improvisation or otherwise, it's like you get to be a creator, you know, like, and that's like the same thing with any kind of art. But it's like, talk about connection to the divine. It's like you were born with your body, you know, like it's like you don't need anything else to make music. And music itself is like this beautiful, like kind of inexplainable historical human thing that is like predates instruments, predates, you know, like written history, you know, like a lot of it, you know, songs were how we told our stories for, you know, well, as long as before we had writing, you know, we don't even know how long. So for me, it's like, I try to encourage that, like, you know, anytime that you can be within a song or within a musical moment, that is like it's touching God, you know, like there's like a little element of like the creator within you, you know, like that it comes out freely if you're like vulnerable enough to engage in it. So it's like, I think that was something that I totally agree with that. I think that is, it's a beautiful thing about music for sure.
It's so interesting you say that about like, it's prehistoric. You know what I mean? It's
exactly.
Like we don't have like, the exact evidence of like when exactly whatever we would call music first happened or thought of, but like, yeah, this transcends our capacity to like have written down our experiences. Like before that, it was just like people around the fire, right? It's like
Mhm.
Yeah.
not just talking about them, but singing about them. And there's something very like, I was so, I'm always so hesitant or have been to like chant in any Kundalini class because I was raised Roman Catholic, so the throat chakra
Yeah.
is a little tight. So I would
Yeah.
be in it, I'd be in the space, right? And I would but there's something about it. And maybe part of it is like, since I don't know what they're saying exactly all the time, or I don't know what the words are, almost gives it a more spiritual meaning where like it doesn't matter.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like I don't need to know the literal translation. When I learn and it's cool, but like actually I don't need to know to have that kind of moving experience in it.
And I
Yeah,
think
it's
that's good for
spiritual.
like the inquisitive mind and like that analytical side of like, okay, what is this? And it's like, oh, okay, like the universe, I bow to the universe is within me. And it's like, okay, that's great. Now here's like a beautiful way to say that differently. And I find that when I chant, um, all of the sounds eventually become like one sound.
Mm,
So that's like my experience with chanting, and it just becomes like one long like long echo cars. It gets to a point with it where it just feels like vibration.
Yeah, you're just breathing,
Yeah.
like at a certain point. I felt actually, Matt, I feel the same way that when I first started, and actually when I went and got to see Krishna Das,
Yeah.
and got to be in a crowd that all knew the whole thing, but I didn't know. Like
Right.
I definitely did have like a moment where I was like, this feels strange to me. Like because the only other experience that I had had of that was in church. Like where everybody knows the words and people are all singing in worship, like it is a similar experience. And so there was like a Catholic version of me that was like, this is heresy. Like, what is it,
Oh, triggering.
yeah, like a little bit like, oh damn, maybe I shouldn't be saying this because I don't know what it is. I think that was also kind of a barrier to it. Was like, is it even disrespectful of me to be singing it so nonchalantly and like even having the temptation to like to make it sound how I want it to sound, like improvise, harmonize, like do things like that like isn't the intention. But then once you lock in, like you said, I think that there's like a real again magical thing that happens that is like I remember learning a few and like going through a few and not knowing what it was, and then having a specific feeling and then hearing what the words were and being like, okay, that makes sense that was the feeling that I was having.
yeah.
Because
Yeah,
that
that's a really good point, Josh. There's
yeah.
a lot of mantras and that are like that where I'm like, actually I don't know what this means. And then I experience it. And
Yeah.
then I look it up and I'm like, oh, like that's actually
Yeah, that's what I was feeling. Yeah.
that's like the great experiment for me, for
I
sure.
love that. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I don't mean to speak lightly on the challenge that some people have. I know, I mean, talking to Jeannie about students she's had where it is a hurdle for them when they don't know what is being said. And that, I mean, because words are magic, right? And it's what we say,
Right.
and I totally believe it. So I definitely don't want to speak light to that hurdle, because it's definitely there.
I agree.
But especially with something as foreign to me as chanting in Sanskrit, right?
Totally.
It wasn't really, for me, it wasn't about the words or what I'm saying. It was the making it loud, like it was doing it, like, making it be
The
effective.
volume.
And I was
Yeah.
Bringing it
doing it
out.
at all.
Yeah.
And I just decided, when I turned 45 in August, I was just like, you know what? This is the year of yes. This is the year I don't care. That I want my brain to get in the way of things.
Yeah.
I'm just going to do it. And I just, like, when I would start go to her classes, I would just start doing it. And even the first time, she's like, you were, I mean, I was sitting right in like the front row, basically at the studio. He's like, you were chanting. I'm like, yeah, I just decided to basically fuck it. I'm not
Okay.
gonna go back.
Oh yeah.
Pretty much.
Well, it's just like that vulnerability that I was saying about singing in general. It's like you get like, and I think that this is true in many different things in life, is like when you give yourself the opportunity to be vulnerable in something, there's usually a payoff, like at the end, like and within it. And it's like, but that first leap of vulnerability is like what makes it valuable and like what gives it, it's like an overcoming that is like so freeing, especially when it comes to music, because the reward is immediate. Like you really
Yeah.
feel it in your body, you feel the vibration like coming through you and emanating from you and like that kind of thing, you can't prescribe, you know, like you can't really like tell someone like, trust me, like if you sing this louder, it will feel really good, because it's like they have to make that leap. They have to make that choice. And it's like also the magic is lost if you're forced into it. You know, like you actually have to be the one to make the choice and really go for it. And it's like that's like the same thing as dancing to me. It's like it's so I have a really hard time. I used to be as a kid like, oh my God, you guys could only imagine. Is like I used to be in the center of the circle, you know, like I was always at school dances and stuff, just like doing the robot breakdancing and stuff like that. And now there's something that has changed. I think I feel it is a much harder dive into than it used to be. And it's like when I do, it feels so good to like let loose in that freedom that you get. And I think that comes from the music, you know, like it really is. I think that there's something that I've read that it's like evolutionarily intertwined into our brain, like that historic aspect, like why when you learn something in a song, your brain remembers it so much more, because that's what we've been doing for so long. It's like that is actually part of our evolutionary like biology, is that like we can remember these things. You can remember things in a song. Songs come on that I haven't heard in 20 years.
Know all of
I know all the words, and it's like I don't know the words to any songs, even my own songs. I don't know the words to. You know, like it's like so.
I remember this, but I can't study the periodic table.
Exactly. You just got to make it into a song. So I think it is very cool.
I think if Jeannie were on this podcast, she would tell the story. I remember her talking about how she taught our oldest Abby to the phone number in like kindergarten, and it was I don't remember what it was, but it was like she made it into a song.
Yeah.
I think if I'm going to see Abby tomorrow, and I'm going to see if she can still remember. I bet she would remember. She's
100%.
She's almost 28. I bet, like, you know, this song you learned 23 years ago, and she's like, yeah, here it is, right? Because it's just like you remember them. That's so interesting to bring in dance too. I feel like that's a natural part of this conversation too, about not only being vocally embodied, you know, empowered, but like dancing too. Because equally, like school dances, man, I'm hanging back, putting out the vibe. I am not in the middle.
Yeah.
It's only, I mean, it's funny. It must be because I'm like a Earth Kapha Virgo, right? I'm like, for Jeannie and I, our first dance when we got married, we did the foxtrot. So like we learned the foxtrot. I'm like, oh, I can do this. Like there was no hesitation getting up in front of my family. Like I know the steps. I know what I'm doing. And like we've practiced a little bit. This is the funniest thing, because we decided we wanted to learn the foxtrot. So we signed up. We were still living out in like Hoosick Falls, Vermont area. So in Albany, there was a dance studio, and it was like, first lesson is free. So we're like, hey, can you teach us the foxtrot? And this woman did. And then we tried to schedule another lesson, but she's like, I'm booked. Sorry. I'm like, all right, we got one free lesson. We learned all we needed to do. But having that, like, I know the steps. So I was like, oh, I can totally do this. So like, whenever we go to weddings now and it's just like, oh, there's a slow song, I'm like, let's foxtrot.
Let's foxtrot it.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's so good.
I think like speaking to the energy centers too, for me, it's always like, you know, in those moments where I feel like I'm frozen and I can't dance or I can't sing or I can't vocalize. Like to me, it always goes back to like, oh, do I feel safe? Do I feel expressive? Do I feel creative? Not even like necessarily those, but to me, it's like a really quick chakra check-in of like, why do I feel like disconnected with this? And then I think knowing too, like it's okay to just be there, right? To just be present with it. There's an experience I had, I'll say like, this is the first time I heard music. Okay. So I was at a Kundalini immersion, and it had live music with it. And there was like the opportunity, like in the midst of practice, be like, okay, we're going to stand up, keep your eyes closed if you want. And like, it was more so like, keep your eyes closed. We know, like, you know, you do what you want now, but it was like, keep your eyes closed and just move to the music. And that first little bit is always like just getting familiar, right? Getting comfortable, like, okay, I'm comfortable in my body. And like listening to the music, it was the first time that I heard the cello by itself. I heard the keys by itself. I heard the guitar. I heard the vocals. I heard the drums. And it was like, when I allowed myself to stay with it, we say like the nod, the sacred sound current, I like heard it. and it was just the most magical thing. And I would be like able to like move my body to the flute, and then I would switch over to the drums and like listen to those. But it was very much like, for me at that time, it was very much a spiritual experience of like, hey, this isn't just music. Like this is like I felt the vibration, I felt the sound current. And now, like ever since then, I think I have a different appreciation for music and for the creators of that, you know.
Yeah, definitely. When I think that as I've gotten more into yoga and as I've grown older, I think that I am like, and it's probably so annoying, but like I love an Om like drone. Like so I would like, for me, like there's something so spiritual about like an Om, like a powerful, like with a right frequency underneath, like for 40 minutes straight, like in my headphones, like that kind of thing. For me is like, I think for other people probably so bored, like with my family for sure. They're like, dude, Josh is listening to Om all morning, every morning. It's so annoying. But it is totally that like vibrational frequency thing that is like, it feels like it's always there anyways. And so when you tune into it, it's like even more like, oh my God, like this is it, you know, like this is us. This is, and also like, if you want to get real woo woo about it, it's like definitely like within the universe, you know, like the vibration that is humanity, that is like being alive, is like such a magical thing that it makes sense that, and us being so liquid
Mhm.
makes so much sense that we would be so responsive to music, that it's like and they always say it's a distinctly human thing, like music, like even the singing of birds, like other
I was
animals.
literally just thinking about that, John.
Yeah, it's not the same, you know, like we use music for a very different reason and in different ways than the animal world. There is music in the
Mhm.
natural world, but it's nowhere near like what humanity is. And they say, like, I don't know if you guys know about like the probe they sent out, Voyager, that has like music in it, like a golden record that they have in
Mhm.
there. And it's like that, because that is like a very distinctly human invention that, like, when I think of other worlds or other places, like one of the first things I'll want to know is if they have music, you know,
Right.
like, and what would it be like, you know, like, cause
Right.
that is so interesting to us, and really embodies us as a people. Cause it's so, again, it's really, it's a magical thing. And it's like, if we can, if I think it's the most tangible magic, other than like maybe Wi-Fi and stuff like that, like that is non-technological, that like really is a physical thing. I think
Right.
it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Awesome. Hey guys, sorry. We have someone here that has just finished installing part of our countertop, and I need to pause to go see if I need to give this man a check.
That
It's
works
Max.
great. Yeah,
All
sure.
right. BRB. Alrighty. It's recording. All right. So I'm curious to hear about what you guys consider what is spiritual music for you, or spiritual moments, because as we're talking about it, I can think of moments of seeing live music and
Mhm.
thinking like, okay, like I've seen live music in shows, be like, okay, I appreciate the music, clearly talented people, and then moments where I'm like, oh my god, my mind is blown, type thing. So, so what do you got, Sabrina? Do you have any, like, what kind of, if you like spiritual music, what do you put on, or like what do you listen to?
Well, on my way in today, it was Taylor Swift.
Nice.
Okay.
Okay.
I think I definitely fluctuate with my music. For most times, it's definitely like spiritual vibe. It'll be a lot of mantra, a lot of mellow. There is some songs I was thinking of, like what really gets my emotions going. So there's definitely a couple songs with that. I think like one of my favorite mantras is Ong Song Waheguru, and
Okay.
that translates to the infinite or dynamic love of the universe dances within every cell of my body.
Hmm.
So like as I continue with that, like I just feel it. Like I feel like, yes, that is what's happening. So that moves me emotionally. But then I kind of go back to kind of like, I don't know, honestly, like some gospel. If I go back to like Fred Hammond, uh,
Yes.
um,
Oh my
what
God.
is,
Yes.
what is,
Fred Hammond.
yeah,
Amazing. That's so sweet you mentioned him. That's
what is
awesome.
that song? I never would have made it without you.
Yes. Oh yeah.
I would have lost it all.
Oh my
But
gosh.
it's just like, I don't know. There's just something about that and the voice that, like, it just gives me chills.
Totally.
It gives me chills. And then I like Lauren Dangle, like you say,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
that song Oceans.
Oceans is
So, you
so
know,
good.
like
Yep.
a lot of the music that I listen to is like interconnected with the universe. It'll intertwine the word God, love, divine.
Yeah.
And that's like what moves me. And
Yeah.
that like really gets me, like I feel it in my body. Not to say I was chatting with someone a little bit ago that my friend, shout out, hey, they have a band called Mostly Grateful, and
Okay.
they cover mostly Grateful Dead covers.
Hell yeah.
Um,
Let's go.
so they're called Mostly Grateful. They're getting a
Love
little
cover.
they're getting popular
I
in
love
the
cover band names.
Northeast.
The
Bands
best. The
are the
best.
best.
Cover band names are the coolest, like wordplay. I love
Yeah.
that.
So good.
Yeah.
So when I was in the UK, I missed band practice, and
Okay.
that really like brought a tear to my eye because I love witnessing them in their music flow. So like that also makes me emotional. I think it's because I also know them, and I'm
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, I remember when you had this band up in my attic.
Yeah.
when we were like 12, 13, and here we are 20 years later or more, and you're just like living it out. So I think what moves me emotionally is kind of like a little here, a little there. And you know, the things that really hit home for me, I think are some of those that I mentioned. And I shared that music experience that I had. One other thing I'd like to share is that I got a massage recently, and the massage, it was a little bit less in cost because it was to fish.
Oh, interesting.
So like the background, the music that was playing was Fish. It was Fish
So
Live.
cool.
And for that person, it was like them energetically, like
Mm.
that's what they love, that's what they vibe with. I'm like, this is gonna be the best massage ever because
Yeah.
like they're like vibing out to their music and moving with the flow. So that was like an experimental, like fun experience for me too. Getting to be with that. So yeah, that's a couple that come to mind.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I never thought of like, because usually if I've ever gotten a massage and there's music, it's usually very ambient, you know, gongs or almost unidentifiable background music. It's not meant to be the focus, right?
Right.
But now that I think about it, I'm like, man, what would I put on if I was
Mhm.
getting a massage right now? That's a good one. I got to think about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I go to, the first place I went to when I saw this, I remember this topic with, is movie soundtracks.
Oh, okay.
Almost immediately. And actually, it's usually I
What
go
a
to
fun job.
Star Wars is
Oh my
of
God.
course because it's really John Williams, because it's like all the movies that I grew up with, like, you know, the Star Wars, Indiana Jones, like that's all John Williams, and he's responsible for so much of that music. So it's really easy to find a place of like, because some of those movies are so mythic, right? I mean, it's very, the ones I or gravitate to are the ones that like, yes, this is like myth on screen, right? These heroes are larger than life. This isn't like a serious, grounded drama. This is like meant to be, and fun and entertaining in a lot of ways. This isn't really meant to be taken seriously. Like it's like telling the stories about the gods around the campfire type music, right?
Yeah.
But if I had to pick, I guess one track that I went to and just like could be on repeat is, if you guys have seen Avengers Infinity War, no, Avengers Endgame.
Yeah.
Avengers is a great soundtrack.
Amazing.
It is really good.
It
It's
is,
so
yeah.
good.
I
So
do.
like that's Alan Silvestri, who must be my second favorite composer because I listen to him all the time. But the portals scene in Endgame,
Mhm.
when the portals open up and everyone, that track, like
What's it
it
called?
just I think it's just called Portals.
Okay, cool.
So if you go to the soundtrack, I mean, no, I'm right. I'm gonna go listen to this again, and like
Yeah.
everything everyone's mentioning, I'm gonna go check out. But yeah, it's the portal scene when everyone like comes back. Oh my god, on repeat. I could just listen to that, and it just like, again, I get those chills. I get those
Yeah.
chills. Like, yeah, I can actually almost like work myself up to feel it right now, just thinking about it.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
But one other thing about soundtracks is, I don't know if you've seen the trailer, because there's going to be a new Superman movie this
Oh, yeah.
summer.
No.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
Sabrina.
the music, that song is
Yeah.
like right when it comes in, I'm like, oh my God, I love this
Oh
song.
my god.
This is it.
Well, like I remember there was a couple Superman movies 10 even 20 years ago. And I just wanted to go, I'm like, I want the music. Like,
Yeah,
stop screwing around. Just don't, you don't need music. The first John Williams Superman theme is perfect.
it
And so when I
is.
saw this trailer, the first couple trailers and the teasers, I could hear it. I'm like,
Uh,
oh, they're using this music. And like
yep.
it that just hit on a whole other level. Like that's just so like I'm so psyched about that because it's so like I mean, a lot of the music I listen to is like heavy metal and it's like a little grimmer and a little like, minor keys and stuff like that. But this like
Yeah.
John Williams, it's all like major keys and so uplifting. And so like it's meant to be empowering and lifting and rousing. So like that's where I go lately. Yeah, it's definitely movie soundtracks. So
That's
Movie
amazing.
it's
soundtracks
always
are awesome. Hans Zimmer is my guy for the Interstellar soundtrack.
yeah.
It's just like to me just the most incredible. That is like definitely I can totally relate to that. And then Fish. When you say Fish, my definitely one of my most spiritual live music experiences is seeing Fish with my brothers because they are like giant fans and like have seen them so many times. And so, but there is not a show on earth that you can go to. Maybe the Grateful Dead at the Sphere. I've heard that is like absolutely incredible, and the
I
sound
have
is
two,
so
yeah.
good. I would love to catch that before they're done doing it. I think they'll maybe do one more run ever, so it probably won't happen. But
We gotta go.
being
Team
in a
Go.
crowd with we should. Oh my god, that'd be the coolest retreat of all time. But the feeling there isn't a crowd that is in a better mood for the entirety than a Fish crowd. Like they
Yeah.
are in love with the spontaneity, the like. There's no expectations. It's like all ages, like an absolute like love fest. Like that's like what it feels like. Is like it's truthfully like a utopian feeling in a certain sense of
Like they're
like
not
just
thinking about anything. They're just like
no, it's like
there with the
pure
music.
euphoria and like very silly dancing and like there's just so much freedom going on that is like it's really cool. It's like it's not like any other musical experience I've ever had because there isn't such and as a musician I have to say seeing live music for me is tough. After I went to school for music, I started becoming like a diagnoser of music, and so like when I hear it, I'm always thinking of like the technical aspects or even the production aspects of like what microphones, like how are they getting this sound, or like I'm much more not listening, but like really, like I said, kind of diagnosing what's happening, and even competitively, I could see my
Mm.
like sometimes I'm like I have to take myself out of it because there's like an egoic battle going on where I'm
Almost
like,
like, oh, it would sound so great if the drums
if
kicked
this
up
would
right
happen,
now.
yes,
Like, yeah. But also,
exactly.
like, that's like a creative aspect within yourself,
It
right?
is for sure, and as long as I can. But I like what you said when you said you could hear the music. Like when you can connect and take yourself out of it so well to where you're hearing each element and being grateful and like kind of like in awe of each element and then how they come together. And I feel like Fish and the Grateful Dead, especially when I listen to the Grateful Dead, any of the old recordings and any of the live shows from then, I'm so it feels like it's like liquid, like it's like a liquid state of talent, of like inspiration, of like this. And that's jazz too, but jazz is a little bit more intellectualized in a way that is it's actually about the theory, like people are like, oh yeah, this chord structure is the hardest version of music to play, like. And to me, like, as because I went to a school that really was heavily jazz influenced, that became to me a little bit more like a pretentiousness than a real embracing of the craft. Like it's more of like I can play this and no one else knows like how
Mm.
complex this is.
Mm.
Like, and I sometimes like to likened it to being like once I got to music school, it's like music became a formula in a way that like is not how I see music at all. Like I never felt that way about. I always felt like it was so much more spiritual in the creative aspect of it. And so I think that has been in person definitely some of my most spiritual moments, but definitely performing. I mean, I think that there is absolutely nothing like closer to God, a God feeling for me than performing music live, like, and being completely lost in the song and in the music and being able to like use my voice, especially to kind of go wherever I want, like it's definitely like that feels like I am channeling, like, and I'm not even there, like in a certain sense, which is like, I think a unifying thing. I think that that's why it's so cool, because it's like, if it's a way to overcome like an attachment to self, like to be a part of something bigger, like, and being a part of a crowd that is not thinking of how they look or how they're being perceived. It's like they are there to consume and participate. Like when that is happening, that is humanity at its finest, I think. And I think that when it comes to like particular songs or things like that, there's just so many that I feel like are constants for me. But I found one song that I just have to mention, because it's like, I don't know. It's there's something about it that is, and this is an example of me not knowing what I'm saying, but I can kind of guess. But
What is it?
it's Om Namah Shivaya
Oh yeah.
by the Singers of the Art of Living, and it is like, I wish we could put music into this, but obviously copyright and everything like that, we're not allowed to. But it is like, if you get a chance to listen to it, it is so there's like a tickly nature to listening to it, that like when you listen to it long enough, it is like so engulfing. It like it's very, very cool, and it's like a choir of voices singing something over and over and over again, and it just is, it's really it's really cool. And I put it on every day, like every morning for sure, as part of my morning routine. And it's really, I think that the spirituality of music is a simple connection. It's like a very low hanging fruit connection to God. Like it's like that.
Yeah.
I think that is, I think where I land with it is like, so many different versions of music have given me the chills, to where I'm like, oh my God, like how incredible is it to be able to feel this, like through something that somebody recorded, like, and I think me and Matt, I've said this to you before, that like recorded music has only
Yeah,
existed
I
for
was
like,
just thinking about you saying this before. Yeah.
yeah, like 200 years total in
Right.
human history. And so it's like, to think that like people were sharing songs by ear, or like by written notes, which is like a totally different language. It's like that, the fact that we're living in an era where we can consume music from the other side of the planet, different cultures, different religions, different histories, like that could be lineage long, like really long time coming, is like a miracle. It's like an absolute miracle. We get to live in that era. And so it's just that
Music
alone is insane.
is universal. So that's like one thing. When we were traveling in the UK, it was so fun to like hear what was playing like in the stores. It wasn't anything that I didn't know.
No.
And to hear other people like sing these songs that like, like you remember singing with your friends or something of that nature. It comes on and it's like, hey, we're like from two different parts of the world, but we're both like here right now, like enjoying this song and this music. Yeah, I mean,
Josh, I
I
love that you
too,
said,
yeah.
yeah, I love you said it's low hanging fruit. It's like the most accessible
It's right there
spiritual
for you.
thing. Right.
Yeah.
Well, that it's accessible. It's like for everybody. And I just always reflect on, because I'm old, right? I was born in 79. So like I remember listening to music on records, 8-track, cassettes, CDs, now digital. I've purchased Metallica's Ride the Lightning on tape, on CD, digitally, like 3 times in my lifetime. Like that seems crazy. But if you were to tell me, well, first my one thought was, yeah, if you 200 years ago, if you wanted to hear Beethoven's Seventh Symphony and you didn't go see someone perform it, you just don't get to hear it. Like
That's
it's nowhere.
insane. Like,
Right? I know.
that's
We just
insane to think
we
about.
take for granted how accessible music is now. I mean, even now, 20, 30 years ago, it's like, yeah, let's go get this record or let's go get this CD. But like with streaming stuff, like
It's
if you told me when I was like 12, it's like, don't worry. When you're like 35, 40, there's this thing you could pay for one,
let's
you
make it
pay
through
monthly
LimeWire.
Yeah,
and like
right.
have it like access to
Everything.
everything, anything.
Even the live versions. I love listening to
Yeah.
the
Oh,
live,
everything.
all the
Yes.
lives.
My little mind would have been blown, because it's like, yeah, I want to like get in a Led Zeppelin when I'm 12 and it's 1992. It's like, well, there's CDs, thank God. But if like I have to go find them, and like what if the store doesn't? Now it's like, yeah, it's all there. You can go listen to it, which is like awesome. I mean, it's kind of like part of me is like there was some kind of charm about having to go find stuff, like, you know, or like if someone
Mhm.
making you a tape of something. But
Oh
I'm
yeah.
also like, I like if I like find something or think of it, I can just have it right now.
Well, and music has
Spoiled.
changed so totally spoiled, and it's also like the way that algorithms suggest music based off
Mm,
our preferences is like if
yeah.
I told myself that, like, oh, by the way, not only are you going to get any song that you've ever wanted for no money, almost like almost no money, fractions of a cent, and on top of it, it will give you suggestions of music you'll love. That you're like, oh my god, this is exactly what I'm looking for. Like that.
I
That
know.
alone is like it's mind numbing to think about, and I think that it really is it's an underrated and definitely undervalued art form, you know, like that has become in the capitalistic world like almost zero value associated with like the creation of this art form other than the intrinsic experience of it. So it's like it really is it's like it went to its commercial success in the 90s with like buying CDs, which is like
Mm,
literally the worst quality recording that you can get
Mhm.
for the most expensive. That was like the peak of like making it a product to now being like it's as free as water. It's like almost like a utility, which
yeah.
Well,
isn't, you know, isn't so good for the musicians in the world,
Right.
but it is definitely and with the ease of creation, the fact that anyone with a computer can record professional level quality
Yeah.
is like there are more people making music today than ever before in history. And like that alone is like a cool thing. If we could like figure out a way to make that more celebrated and more practiced, you can get so much value out of creating your own music.
I learned something about my mom
Okay.
on this trip that I went on. She started asking, she's like, what frequency do you think this music is in? Like
Hmm.
what tone, you know? And I was like, I don't know, you know, I don't know. Because there was a switch in some time in history where the music that they were putting out, it
Mm,
was in a different frequency. Like I don't know what hertz it was, but then they shifted to a different hertz. And all of that has in effect within our body, you know, the different frequencies. So I was like, well, you don't like it, do you? And she's like, no, I don't. It does something to me. Like it doesn't do the same for her. It was kind of making her anxious, you know,
Hmm.
which we all have our own things, right? So
Yeah.
then I noticed that she asked it with my brother when something else was playing. And I was like, I think this means that mom doesn't like the music. She doesn't like the sound. She doesn't like the frequency of it.
she doesn't
That's what
That's
say,
I
I
learned
don't
funny.
from
like. It's funny when you have to translate your mother, and it's because it's like, oh, she won't come out and say, I don't like this. It'll
yeah,
just
she
be like,
wants to say, I don't like
what's
this.
the
And I was like,
frequency?
yeah. But on that note, like I remember a lot, like when I was younger, like music brings you back to memories, right?
Oh, totally.
So I remember growing up in the garage. I was a garage girl. My dad had a, you know, Trapani auto connection, and um, just the sound of that radio echoing in the garage. And so when Pink Floyd comes on, when Phil Collins comes on, those are also ones that kind of move me and bring me back to that time and space. So music also has that ability to remember and to it's like stored within ourselves.
It's time travel. It's
Time
like
travel.
literally time travel. It's like
Yes.
the coolest part of our brain that has nostalgia. It's the right next to the music part. Like so it's like there is this like real physical connection to our memories. It's just like smell. Like where it's like you
Yeah.
can remember things so much clearer and like that's such a memory. Like I could hear it what you just described. Like I actually could hear that type of sound and that's like I totally agree with you. I think that's another way that we're able to connect with our past, you know, like, and that is there. I mean, there are a few modalities of art that make you feel that way, and so yeah, that is definitely a magical aspect of it.
Yeah.
I love the time travel portion because it brought me to two things. One was that when we went on a vacation with another family who we were really good friends with, and the dad of that other family made like he had a whole sleeve of blank tapes. And one of them that got really heavy in the rotation was called, he just nailed it, Assorted Rock and Roll. And it was like I think the first song was Danger Zone by Kenny
Oh, come
Loggins.
on now.
And
That's
then it was like,
awesome. I was
there was
just
like,
thinking of Kenny Loggins. That is so funny. That is my family's, like, when I was a kid, Kenny Loggins, for some reason, this one
yeah.
album was the
Was
thing.
playing.
But like, it's funny because I think I found the tape, or my sister did, or something. I think I found it in like a box of stuff, and I had to go to Target and buy a Walkman because we don't have tape players. Because I'm like, I gotta listen to this because I gotta go on Spotify and make a playlist of all these songs. And it's funny though. The funniest part is that after, like, because it played Danger Zone, and if I'm in the space, I'm like, okay, assorted rock and roll tape. I could, like, I know what the next song was. My memory is like, oh, here's the playlist,
Yes.
basically.
Yep.
I couldn't list them, but if I like listen to that song, I could be like, oh, here's the next one, right? Yeah,
It's
that,
so
and there
cool.
was the summer of '96. Traveling to my high school baseball games, my sister said, "Dad, listen to the Moody Blues, the album
Okay.
In Search of the Lost Chord." That was
Hell
on,
yeah. Let's
right?
go.
So like recently, when I drove Jeannie to the airport, I was driving home. I'm like, I don't want to shuffle. I want something, and I was like, oh, Moody Blues, and
That's
it
it.
just totally brought me back to that spring and summer.
Yeah. Matt, I think I might have learned something about you. Can you tell me if it's true or not?
I will.
So we were kind of planning out the food, the dinners at for when we're on retreat in the UK. And I heard that you like to make playlists.
Love.
For
Like if you look in my Spotify, I
so we're gonna
have
have like
like,
a themed dinner,
love
and
it.
I heard that you might be making a playlist for these dinners.
I love
Oh,
it.
I did not know that, but now that I know that, that's the first thing I'm going to do when we sign off. What's
Okay.
okay? Give me one theme right now, and I will start doing that today. Like, I mean, it's
Jeez.
going to be UK, and it's going to be like, I mean, I think it's going to be like Arthur, Knights of the Round Table, Merlin
Yeah,
vibe is the
it
overall
is.
Okay.
theme.
All
It
right.
is exactly.
All right. Okay.
I
And
like
I
So-
don't
that.
even know. I might be even getting like I don't know. I might be getting like a different dress and like some attire. I don't. I'm
Yeah.
gonna like maybe really get into this.
All
I
right.
love it.
But
when
check in with the team for that.
Oh, I'm already going to do this for funsies. I will make a Feast at Arthur's Round Table playlist.
That's what it is.
As soon as we're done here. One last question or thought. Do you guys have any favorite moments of like live music, concert moments that like stand out as like
Simrit.
spiritual or significantly moving, you know?
I just like I would just say Simrit, like listening and being with that live was really an experience for me.
Yeah, your voice is
And
beautiful.
like for me too, I'm going to see Dave Matthews on Saturday
All right.
way.
Where at? In Syracuse?
in Bethel Woods at
Oh,
Woodstock.
sick. Oh my
and
God.
we're car camping. So
So
like
cool.
we're car camping there on site. So I don't know, maybe I'll have a new moment,
will.
new music experience that I'll report back. So I'm
Jeannie and
excited.
Abby and I think a few other people are going to go see Dave Matthews
On the 26th,
in
yeah.
maybe SPAC out in Saratoga in June.
Oh, that's
Maybe 2
awesome.
weeks, I don't know. It's so funny. They asked me, they're like, Matt, do you want to go? I'm like, it's like, I would. He's not my favorite. And also,
Yeah.
like, it's a lot of money to spend if I'm just like, man, this is okay.
Oh my God.
I love
Josh,
to be
what
out
about
on the
you?
lawn.
Oh, it's the best.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
the lawn seats, so you could just do your own thing and
Lawn seats?
yeah. When I
Especially,
was younger,
like-
I would like get my way somehow all the way to the front row.
Yeah.
I would be up there.
Heck yeah.
Especially
Not
like
anymore.
artists that are like getting older and have been around a while too. The lawn seats are like, oh, it's actually going to be people. You could actually sit in a chair or a blanket on the ground, and people are going to be
Exactly.
like, we're just here to chill. This is not mosh pit number 2, man. Like
Yep.
this is where we are.
So that'll be me this weekend.
Oh.
I'm excited for that.
Oh, that's awesome.
What-
Josh, what
What
about
about you two?
When I was younger, I got to see a jazz musician with my grandpa and my dad at the same time, and that kind of thing. I think I've told it on the podcast before. My dad is one of 10 kids, so I have like 75 first cousins, like on that side of the family. So one-on-one time with my grandpa, like literally didn't happen. It wasn't really like something that was accessible for most of us. And for 1 year for my birthday, my dad took me to the Green Mill, which is like a famous jazz club in Chicago, to see McCoy Tyner, which is like he created a style of piano that's called like bebop. and it's like this super fast, incredible. And he was pretty old at this time, but I remember feeling like it was like God was in the room with me, like to give me that opportunity to be with my dad and his dad, who like he was such a jazz head and like played a piano and upright bass and all that kind of stuff. So that was definitely one moment that still stands out. I think I was like 11. And then probably, I mean, Dave Matthews was my other first concert experience. Like I would go, they would play Alpine Valley, which is in like an hour and a half away from where I grew up in Wisconsin. And it's like a beautiful outdoor, like similar actually to the one up in Syracuse, whereas like there's a huge lawn and like just a really nice amphitheater. And I would go, and that was like a very, it was such a music is real type moment where I'm like, man, this is all an experience that people are like willing to wait in such long lines and like go through all of the hassle to just be in community kind of with each other and like good vibes essentially, because Dave Matthews is just such good vibes. So like even if you don't like it, like Matt said, it's still so fun. Like it's really he is a spiritual guy himself. He has like a real affinity for the role that he has, and I know that that's in his interviews are really cool to hear him talk about the responsibility that he has and like how incredible it is to be that guy, the jester sort of in the middle of everything. But so definitely that, and then the Fish shows, you know, like that stuff is otherworldly for me. So that for me would be the three.
That's awesome.
We'll laugh and say Guru Dave Matthews.
Yes.
Yes. I remember the first time I saw Metallica, it was the year 2000. And I mean, from 2000, I mean, I first started listening to them in like 91. And it was all like Josh, you said something like it became real.
Yeah.
Then, right. Because other than that, it was like, it's just the tapes, the CDs, you know, maybe the music videos. I'm dating myself on MTV. But it wasn't really, it was a different level of real, right? Yeah. And I just remember it was in Giant Stadium in New Jersey.
So like, cool.
Huge venue, sold out. 70,000 people. It's July. It's a beautiful summer night. And like, it's like 8, I remember seeing the clock. It's like 8:45. I'm like, all right, this is happening soon. And then like the house lights start to go off. And that might be one of my favorite moments of stuff where it's like, oh, this is about to happen. Like, we're done waiting. This is about to happen. And then the whole crowd realizes it and they start like going nuts, right?
Yes, definitely.
So that like, and that whole show blew me away because I had never seen them. And they were like, they're almost like Led Zeppelin. Like if you get a chance to go see them.
Oh my God, I would love to see them.
It's going to be a good show.
Yeah.
But that, and honestly for me, this band is hit or miss for a lot of people, but the Trans-Siberian Orchestra.
Yeah.
Like even if you don't particularly like their music, like I won't say it's worth going to see them, but their shows are bananas.
Oh, it's like, insane production.
I had no idea the level of like lasers, lights, pyrotechnics,
all of it together.
Like, go on. It's insane.
Yeah.
And we saw them not last fall, but the fall before. And I forgot, like, we saw them up in Rochester. There's this like smallish arena. I'm like, first of all, like all of this is insane. The volume was like, they're blowing my brains out. This is like, holy shit. And like on another level, I'm like, you cannot like this, but everyone in this band is a bonkers musician.
Is killing it.
Yes. Unbelievable. Like the talent and the skill, like it's remarkable. So every time I think about that, I just think that puts me in like an awe and respect for not only the medium of music, but like the craft of performing, like and the whole other thing too. Yeah. And it brings me to this place. I'm just in the moment and just in awe. Yeah.
Hell yeah. That's what it's all about.
Guys.
I love
it. I love it. I love these, this one. I was like, spirituality music. Huh. I wonder what I think about that. And then I hear you guys talk about it. I'm like, say it better than I ever could.
Jeannie comes in my head, right? Because she'll say all music is spiritual music. That's like, I think Jeannie's line. Yeah. So
and it's just it's like, because it is, I'm always, I love hearing other people's opinion because it's like hearing what it is, what's spiritual to other people. It's like, I never would have thought about that. Now I got to go Google it and listen to it and check it out. Right.
I could talk about this like for hours and hours.
I know.
I love it.
Honestly, like what am I going to put on after this?
I know, right?
Awesome.
I'm excited.
All right,
I got my
All right, guys.
Spotify open and ready.
let's go.
Love it.
Tell me how that Om Namah Shivaya is for you.
Yeah,
It's like,
I will.
I want to know what you think about it.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I'll get it cracking on this King Arthur playlist.
Yeah, you gotta post the link to that, Matt.
I will. I'll put it in the show
notes.
notes. Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome. All right, for the Wi-Fi
Okay.
pod, this is Matt.
This is Sabrina.
And this is Joshua.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.